you hear me okay?
Yeah,
Dave,
hey, Dave, go ahead.
Okay, awesome. Hey, welcome you to the call tonight. Last week when we did that was really the first episode of these training calls that Dave Sharp and I are going to be doing together. And one thing that I really want to mention before we move on is just mark 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Monday nights off for at least the next 4 to 6 weeks, because the concepts that we've really got planned, concepts that enabled me to do things like make up to $33,000 in one evening, the same concepts that allow weekly residual income of $8,000 to $10,000 to $15,000 per week, and an additional income on top of that of $1,000 in just promotional income. Concepts that have allowed Dave Sharp to do things like go from, being a construction worker, swinging a hammer, and now he's pulling in 5 figures plus every single week, and absolutely help you break through. Just so you know what our vision is here in doing this, guys, is our vision really is to help you break through. I've seen kind of a disconnect online since I've been doing this here for the last couple of years, where people have really either been they're the top 3 gurus, or they've been kind of bottom feeders and not really be able to break through to the income levels that they want. So this is really a leadership school. These calls are to where you are to where you want to have personal breakthroughs in your life, to help you understand what kind of a vision and what kind of process you really need to go through, not to make an extra $500 a week or $5,000 a month, but help you get to the big money, residual money, help you profit in your business right now. And so tonight's call is really a special subject that we really want to hammer into this community that we're building now, that we really want to cast a vision for. And that's tonight we're going to be talking about something called the power of unity. There's a quote that I heard a long time ago from a guy who made $8 million plus annually, where he said it's better to be unified than it is to be right. One of the visions that we've got moving forward is to help you establish a unity in your business here with our vision and what we're doing in a way that makes us so all of us have to work less hard and we can all make a lot more money. But before I get into any concepts, I really want to edify here my partner, Dave Sharp. A lot of you guys have met Dave. Those of you who were on the call last week, you got to hear his story about how he was struggling with drugs and has problems since he was a kid, and then he had a breakthrough, has been clean for years, and went from being a construction worker to making multiple 5 figures every single week, to generating 50 to 100 leads per day on autopilot, and really being able to impact people all over the world and create income on demand. And I just want to edify him, because Dave is not only one of the most inspirational speakers that I've ever got a chance to work with in my entire life, but he's also helped me have personal breakthroughs in my business in terms of take leads and convert them into even more sales, being able to get more leads from capture pages. And his story has just inspired me to know I'm doing, what we're teaching, and what we've been building in our community for the last couple of years is really in the right direction, in a direction of vision. But Dave is somebody who can impact and can change your life, who can help you learn how to recruit on demand, who can help you learn how to get sales without even picking up the phone, automatically through the power of the internet. And he really understands a lot because of his background about vision and about community. So without any further, what I wanted to do is I wanted to turn this call over to Dave Sharp, my friend, my business partner, and I'm going to have him go on and just take this away for a few minutes. Appreciate you, pal. I think what you're doing is absolutely incredible. I love all the conversion stuff that you're putting out there, the product stuff that you've been putting out there, and I just think that you're going to be not just a zillionaire, but you're just going to be a rock star and a hero to thousands of people because of the things that you've been sharing. So, Dave, again, appreciate you, buddy, and I'm going to turn the call over to you.
Well, I appreciate that, Dave. I really do. It's an honor and a privilege to be on this call tonight with not only you, but everybody on the call who's joined us. Now, on behalf of David Wood, I want to welcome you guys to the Monday night training call. What we're going to be covering tonight is something that not only I think is powerful, and I've seen it make huge impacts on not only individuals, but crowds of people all over the world. But what I personally like to do, and this is just something that I've learned throughout personal developments and breakthroughs in my life, is I like to share my personal experience on the subjects that we share about, because here's the way that I believe about things. I actually believe that I don't have any business sharing about something unless I've personally experienced it. And tonight we're going to be talking about a topic that not only have I witnessed it being such a powerful, powerful concept and element across the entire world, but more powerfully to me is the experience and the breakthroughs that I've had because of the concept, because of unity. Now, again, those were very, very nice words that Dave said about me. I appreciate him. What I've been able to do is nothing in comparison to what he's been able to do. He says that I've helped him have breakthroughs. Well, let me tell you something. He's inspired and coached and mentored me on a lot of different levels to have breakthroughs. If you haven't connected with David Wood yet, if you haven't been to his blog, if you're not on his list, if you're not in the back office of his products, you need to be ASAP, because this gentleman can not only show you what to do, and he does show you, but he actually makes more money off of marketing than teaching people how to market, which is something that's very uncommon inside of this industry. So, again, with that being said, it's an honor and a privilege to be able to, basically be on this call tonight, and I'm pumped up. I've had a dramatic weekend. I've had an emotional weekend. I'm going to get into some of that stuff on this call tonight, and I'm going to share with you what I actually went through this weekend that has impacted not only me, but my girlfriend Erin and my daughter Bailey in a way that we'll never forget. This is a story that is literally going to transform my life, in a situation, an event that's absolutely changed the way that I look at life, even more so than I already did. So I'm excited to be able to share some of that stuff with you, some of the concepts about unity. Before we get into that, I want to throw it back over to Dave just for a couple of quick announcements.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Just a couple of things that we want everybody here to write down. Once again, one of the things I want you to write down is every Monday for at least the next 4 to 6 weeks, block off whatever you've got going on at 9 p.m. Eastern Time and be on this same call-in number, same access code that you were on here next week, and that will be emailed to you if you're either on my list, Dave's list, or both every single week. We'd also invite you to invite your teams, and we will inspire them and empower them to have absolute breakthroughs in their business as well. So, guys, this is the very quick announcement that we want to make. As a lot of you guys know who have been on my personal list and my personal team, who are personally connected to me, I've been planning on secret powwow out at the Orlando Live the Dream event that's coming out in Florida. And for those of you who have what we're talking about here, Dave and I are actually partnering up to. We had a vision together here when we were talking. It was probably 2 to 3 months back, where he said, we're sick and tired of people who really get in the internet game, and kind of the real secrets to breaking through in their business, the leadership concepts that really 5 and 6 figures annually and monthly are kind of kept back in favor of product launches, constant promotion, just constant in-your-face links to click on that have really nothing to do with really succeeding and prospering your business. So we decided that we wanted to form a real leadership community. And to kick this off, we're actually going to be getting together with a private group of people out at the event. If you're on my list, you know about this. And if you guys aren't going to be there, I would really encourage you. I believe it's the weekend of October 22nd through 24th. The dates are actually on the page. But if you'd go to, this is the link, and write this down exactly and clearly. It's workwithdavidwood.com/dream. Okay? workwithdavidwood.com/dream. All lowercase letters, workwithdavidwood.com/dream. If you go to that link, you can go there anytime over the course of this. We're not going to be pitching that hardcore, guys. This is going to be leaders. What we're going to be doing is, in addition to the things that are going on at the Live the Dream event, Friday night, and you got to make sure that you want to stay for all 3 days. Friday night, we're going to be getting together with this private group the event with us. We're also going to be doing it on Saturday evening, and we're also going to be getting together on Sunday evening with the people who are actually taking the time to come down to the event, and what we're going to be going over in a very private setting. And this is a secret meeting. This isn't going to be the main Live the Dream event. You're going to have to be on that list and connect with us personally at the event to be able to attend. We're going to be literally breaking down you, where we're going to take you and help you get to 5 and 6 figures monthly and yearly over the course of a very short period of time after the event. So I did want to just mention that very briefly before we get in the call. We're going to lay out a very unified vision for the direction that we're going to go, and if you're on this call, we want you to be there. And so with that being said, guys, I'm going to turn this back this story about this. This totally inspired the heck out of me when Dave and I were talking the other day about really just kind of what happened over the last weekend. And then over the course of the call, we're going to be laying out some strategies, some nuts and bolts concepts, not just to have more own business, not just to be a part of what we're doing and have that vision to really break through, but we're going to show you how through the power of synergy you can be 10 times more powerful in everything that you do in your business. So that being said, Dave, appreciate you again. Back over to you, buddy.
All right, my friend, absolutely. And for those of you who are not kind of sure where to get your ticket to the Live the Dream event, you can actually get that. Most likely you're invited from either Dave or I onto this call, and there's actually a link to buy that ticket in both of our emails. Just go back in. Everybody should be able to find that. So, again, before we get started here, let me just warn you that what I'm about to share with you guys is very personal. Those of you who know who I am, know that that's kind of how I like to keep it. It's about to get real, and I don't mind actually getting metaphorically naked in front of you guys. So that's, I think, what it's all about, and I think that the industry, I think that the world is looking to connect with people on more of a transparent, authentic level, and that's exactly how I like to try to keep things. It's kind of ironic that what happened this weekend is right on the same lines, because Dave and I were talking about last week that we're going to talk about unity, because there's just such a disconnect, as Dave was talking about, and such a need for people to experience unity inside of not only this industry, because, guys, remember, our vision is much bigger than just this industry. It's about changing not only our incomes and having breakthroughs financially, but also personally, because the truth of the matter is life is not actually an outside game. It's an inside game. When you master your inside self, mastering the outside is not an issue at all. And that's something that I actually speak from personal experience. But I was actually on my computer about to jump on a conference call on Friday around 4:15 or so. And my phone rang, and it was my girlfriend. And she was picking up my daughter from school. And it was just another Friday. I was looking forward to the weekend. And the interesting thing is that my girlfriend actually turned 30 on, and not to, break her age, but it is what it is, and she doesn't mind. She's beautiful, the most gorgeous girl that I've ever seen for 30, and she makes it look dang good. And we were about to have a massive party on Saturday night over at my house. We were about to have probably anywhere from 75 to 125 people, because we cherish our personal relationships with our friends. We got big support groups and big circles of friends here where we live, right outside of Tampa in St. Petersburg, Florida. So we had a big weekend planned, and I was sitting at my desk, like I said, about to hop on a conference call, and I got a telephone call from Erin, and she told me very simply, very short of breath, that she was in an accident and she needed me to come immediately. And I dropped what I was doing. I'll never forget what I was doing. I was literally dialing the phone to get on a conference call, and I answered her phone call, dropped my headphones, put on some shoes almost halfway on, and ran out the door. Now, she was about probably four blocks away from my house when this happened, over in front of the post office that we have that's nearby to our house. And when I was driving, I can remember the emotions that I was feeling and going through, which was basically, this is not real, this is not happening. It hadn't actually manifested yet mentally for me or emotionally. I was just going through the motions. As you know, most of us who are on this call, all of us have family members, and I would assume that the majority of us can absolutely relate to what I'm talking about. When a family member calls an emergency, we just drop what we're doing and we go, because that's what family's about. And as I turned the corner and I saw the police lights and I saw the ambulances and I saw the fire trucks, it started to become a reality to me. And because it was a red light, all the cars were stopped. And because I started to panic a little bit on the inside, because obviously my two girls were sitting up there in the intersection, I knew that they were, I drove up on the sidewalk and basically hit the gas until I couldn't go anymore. And it started to rain, which obviously wasn't what I would have wished for, but I jumped out of the car and started running towards the accident scene in the pouring rain. And when I ran up to the accident scene, I saw the car of my girlfriend, which was a small, mid-sized car that she drove, nothing huge. It wasn't a big Mack truck, and it absolutely looked like a crushed soda can. And I can remember my heart sucking up into my throat, and obviously, guys, I'm sharing this, and if I get a little bit emotional, please excuse me, but my heart sucked into my throat, and it became a reality to me of what just happened, that it was an fender bender, and this was serious, and they weren't actually in the car, and again, it looked like a crushed soda can. The airbags were all deployed. It was serious. I saw the other car. It was dead serious, and they were not in the car, so I started to panic. I looked around, and my daughter jumped out of a police car from across the street, waved me over, and I saw my girlfriend sitting in the front seat crying, and I ran over to the car and knelt down beside her and started to hug her and kiss her, and she told me that she was in a lot of pain. And obviously, it was a frantic scene. If any of you have ever been in an accident before, then you know what type of scene an accident can be. So over the course of the next few minutes, the ambulance brought out the stretcher. They put her in the stretcher. I hugged my daughter because, thank God, through divine intervention or something much more powerful than me or anything that I've ever personally touched, intervened, and my daughter was absolutely okay. A couple of bruises, a couple of scrapes, a couple of seatbelt burns or airbag burns on her arm, but she was okay. So she actually ran around the side of the car and hugged me as they brought Erin onto the stretcher. And obviously it was pouring rain, so we kept a plastic raincoat draped over her face. And watching her go into that ambulance was something that I'll never forget, because at that very moment I had no clue what was about to transpire over the course of not only the next 24 hours, but for the rest of my life. Because those of you who know who I am and know where I came from know that I came from a life that a lot of people, that I actually don't wish on anybody. I made a lot of bad decisions in my life, and was not a victim of anything except my own personal bad decision-making, inaction, and being basically fed misinformation and being misguided, but struggled with addiction and alcoholism for a long time. And I actually met Erin through the process of my recovery, and she was somebody who helped save my life. So she played a monumental role inside of my life. So this is somebody who's my soulmate, my partner, somebody who helped me learn how to love. Because I can promise you that when I first met Erin, I didn't actually know how to love. I didn't actually know how to be a gentleman. I didn't actually know how to take care of my family because of just the situations that I had been in and put myself in my previous life. And as I saw her being carted away on the stretcher, my heart sank. And I was going through the motions still, not getting too overly panicked, but just going through the motions of just moving right behind them and staying by her every step of the way. And when we got to the hospital, I can remember feeling almost as if we were getting away scotch-free because she was feeling okay. She looked okay. She didn't look horrible. I mean, obviously, in the middle of an accident, you're going to get very, very overwhelmed with emotion because something very, very, it just happened so quick. Obviously, those of you who have been in an accident know what I'm talking about. But when they went and took her away and did a CAT scan and brought the results back in and told her that she had a broken neck or a fraction in her neck, and those of you who know medical terminology, which I don't know, that a C2 fraction, which I learned over the weekend, I had a big lesson on basically the body, know that that's a really, really serious fracture in the neck. It can sever the spinal cord. Lots of bad things can happen. I was actually just talking to a friend today who's an EMT, and he was telling me just a little bit more of the possibilities that could have happened. So when they brought that news back in and carted her immediately away to the ICU, once again I went through a complete emotional panic for a short period of time. And when we got her up into the ICU, my phone was dead at this point because I hadn't charged it throughout the day and I was on it quite a bit. And my phone was dead, and although we had some family members there, I still felt a little bit disconnected from life, and I felt very alone, and I didn't really know what I was going to do because obviously my life partner, the person that I love, was laying in a hospital bed with a broken neck, and I had no idea what was going to be next. Basically, the fate of what was her life was held in basically a neurosurgeon's hands to come in and tell us what the next step was. But What happened next was something that was profound. What happened next was something that I'll never forget. What happened next was something that impacted the way that I think and see the people around in my life in a way that just absolutely revolutionized the way that I think. Now, I had already put a lot of personal value on relationships, but I can tell you that sometimes in the heat of the moment, I get caught up. Sometimes in the heat of the moment, I forget how important people are around me, and I can tell you that I am no one without the people around me. And what happened is my friends, the people who care about me, the people who love me, more family members started to show up. They didn't worry about calling. They didn't worry about texting. They knew that I wasn't picking up the phone, so they just came. And they started to hug me. And when they started to hug me, the reality set in of how serious the situation was. I can tell you at that very moment, I had felt alone for the last couple of hours. I had felt disconnected from life. I had felt disconnected from people. I didn't know what was going to happen next. But when my friends, when more of my family started to show up, something special happened. And over the course of the next 24 to 36 hours, I experienced something that I had never experienced before. I experienced an outpouring of love and support from the people in my social circle, in my community, people from Aaron's workplace, people that know us, who we've impacted, who have crossed our paths sometime throughout the last couple of years started to show up. And I can tell you that the nurses literally looked at me several times, almost irritated, like, who is this girl? Who is this girl? What's going on? Is she somebody that we need to know about? And I said, no. I said, people just love her. She's just awesome. And they held me up, and I experienced unity on a level that I had never experienced before. And on Sunday afternoon, and I don't know if any of you know, maybe some of you are nurses, maybe some of you are in the medical field, maybe some of you are CNAs or doctors on this call, but it was kind of interesting because being around the ICU, everybody's waiting on the doctors to come, and being a nurse is almost, gosh, how powerful they are. What a role that they play in our community, the nurses, the teachers, because these nurses supported us. They walked us through the entire process, but it's all about the doctors there because they ultimately hold everyone's fate by saying what the next step's going to be. So that was the situation with us as well, and we knew that there was either going to be the ultimate end or next step was going to be a neck brace, a head halo, or surgery. And what happened was the neurosurgeon walked into the ICU room, and everybody basically stood still because we were hanging on absolutely every word. And if you've ever been in a situation to where you were hanging on someone's every word, maybe a role model, somebody that you looked up to, maybe you were in a situation with a family member, well, that's exactly where we were all at. And her father was in the room, her mother was in the room, we had some friends in the room. And the doctor did some tests, and he started to do some strength tests, and he started to push on her arms and make her pull and do some different things just to see if there was any neurological damage before he told us her ultimate fate. And after he did that and she checked out okay, he looked at all of us, looked at her, looked back at all of us, and looked back down at her and said, Aaron, it's the smallest fracture that I've ever seen, and it's okay that your family takes you home today. And the minute that he said that, the minute that those words funneled out of his mouth, I can tell you that all the emotion that I had balled up, being a man and growing up in the environments that I grew up in, that men don't cry, that holding in my emotions is the right thing to do, that I'm still somewhat programmed to do that, but I can tell you this, is that when that neurosurgeon said those words and I heard them with my own ears, something special happened. And I experienced emotion on a level that I had never experienced it before with Aaron. And I hugged her. I kissed her forehead. I walked over to her father. I shook his hand. I gave him a hug. I looked him in the eye. We were both crying. And I went back over and I hugged Aaron again and I told her, we're going home. And I can tell you that this weekend, not only experiencing that with Aaron has strengthened our love, but experiencing the power of unity with the friends and family members. And when I say friends and family members, I'm talking about probably close to 100 people pouring into that hospital. And let me tell you something. Sometimes I forget, as a human being, the power of people. the fact that I need people, the fact that I'm not a one-man show, and the power of, and sometimes I basically forget the power of unity. And I can tell you something, that I will always do my best to never let a situation like this remind me of how powerful unity is and how much I need people. I can tell you that what I experienced this week on an emotional level was more powerful than anything I had ever experienced before on the level of unity. And I can tell you that being home over the course of the last 24 hours with Aaron has granted me a new appreciation for not only my family, but for my friends as well. Remember, I have an 11-year-old daughter, and she has nothing but a few scrapes on her arms. And I can tell you that not only am I experiencing a new level of appreciation for unity, but I'm also experiencing a new level of appreciation for pure gratitude inside of my life. And I can tell you that these type of situations are the situations that mold us as human beings. See, there's something that can't replace experience. And as we get older and as we experience more things, we get to develop more qualities, okay? And traditionally, what we've always done as human beings is basically try to resist the qualities, resist the growth, resist the transformation that we can go through if we're aware of the situations that we are going through while we're going through them. Then we take each situation and learn a lesson from it and find something positive. I can tell you that I couldn't find a whole lot positive throughout this weekend, but I can tell you what did strike me was the love that I felt from the people around me. So here's the ultimate moral of the story, okay? A year and a half ago or so, I was swinging a hammer on a construction site, and I got inside of this industry. And for a long time, just not knowing how to communicate and interact with people and not knowing how to express the fact that I need you, I'm telling you tonight that it's time for a change inside of this industry. It's time for a change inside of our lives. It's time for us to lock arms and come together and empower each other and unite and stand together to experience something that most of us don't experience on a daily basis. I'm inspired, I'm empowered, and I'm ready to make a huge impact on everyone's life on this call tonight, just like you guys have made an impact on me. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it back over to Dave.
Thanks for sharing that story, by the way. Can you hear me okay, by the way?
Yeah, I sure can, buddy.
Dude, you know, as I remember, and by the way, everybody on here, I mean, Dave isn't just a partner here. He's also one of my great friends. And, you know, I was actually chatting with him on Skype just after. So we were talking, I think it was Friday, and he said, dude, I got to run. You know, my girl's just got in a car crash. And, you know, I mean, just at that moment, too, I kind of felt that sinking because, you know, when you really have a friend and when you really have somebody in your life that you know, when they're in pain, you're in pain. And so, Dave, my heart reached out to you, and I was just excited when, you know, to hear that Aaron was okay, and that really kind of opened my eyes as well, you know, to how important the people are in your family, really, you know, and everybody here who's on this call, I want you to think about something here tonight. You know, people, this is a space, it's a market space, and see what's happened over the last couple of years. There's been a lot of people that have came, there's been a lot of people who have left, there's a lot of people that have been inspired and empowered, and there's been a lot of other people that were kind of at the top of the mountain that now have been made low, right? And when you think about that, when you look at that, you know, people, guys, they're really sick of the guru phenomenon. You know, I don't know if you realize that happens, especially in the marketing space, especially as time goes on. You know, a personality is, and I've kind of in some respects become one of these personalities that, you know, everybody is kind of come to a place where a lot of people look up to me. There's been some, you know, of course, some jealousy a little bit, and you get to see things, you know, at my level that you just don't get to see. People are sick of the guru phenomenon. What people
Okay, guys, I realize that Dave just cut out. He should jump on here back on in any minute, so let's just give him a second. Dave, if you're back on, buddy, go ahead. Okay, my friends, as you know, Dave's down in Costa Rica, and sometimes his phone cuts in and out. Unfortunately, sometimes on Skype, there's some connection problems. So again, let's just hold tight, give him an opportunity to jump back on here. All right, he just messaged me. He's dialing back on again.
Hey, Dave, can you hear me?
Yeah, welcome back to the call, buddy.
Hey, sorry about that, man. Had some power outages. I'm now hooked into the wireless internet now, so it actually shouldn't happen again. I might break in and up a little bit. I wanted to apologize for everybody about that. I have been working on getting that fixed. But guys, I just wanted to share with you, where I was kind of left off. I don't know where kind of Dave carried on from there, that people are kind of tired of, just being kind of bottom feeders, you know what I mean? And they're in a spot where they want to be empowered. They want to be a part of a bigger vision. They want to be a part of a bigger tribe. They want to be a part of a bigger community. They would rather make money and have freedom than they would be a guru. And a lot of you here are in that same spot. We get you online and we get you involved in stuff, and then we say, hey, the message is, personal branding, you got to set up this, you got to set up that, you set up 4,000 different services, and then at the end of the day, you realize something that you don't yet know the secrets to really make that brand work. And people are in a spot, guys, as a general community, where they really want to be empowered behind a bigger tribe, a bigger vision, somewhere that's going somewhere as a big community. I remember one of the most empowering experiences that I've had in my entire life. Just kind of share these concepts with you, and then I'm actually going to get into some details. I'm actually going to share with you some practical skill sets that you can use to create more unity in your own teams right now and double and triple and quadruple your income. I remember being in an auditorium when I first got in this industry. A lot of you guys know I was involved in the Amway Corporation, and although it was in one respect a financially frustrating experience for me, on an aspect of community, was actually very rewarding. I got to learn some things that now that I understand how to market, now that I understand the skills, a lot of the things that I actually learned back in my days at Amway have made me an incredible amount of money and have enabled me to build teams that are some of the most loyal teams that you'll ever find on the entire internet. I remember one of the experiences that I had that was a real conceptual shift for me was I was sitting in an auditorium, I believe it was Portland, Oregon, at an event called Family Reunion. In that organization I was a part of, it was called Worldwide Dream Builders. They used to have events 4 times per year. January, I think there was one in April, I think there was another one in July, and then there's another one in November or August or something like that. And I remember sitting there with 15,000 people, and I'm sitting, if you could imagine, there's these guys down on the stage, and they're speaking, dressed in fancy suits and whatever, just kind of casting a dream and casting a vision, and there's just so much money in this room, old money, money that had been established in the Amway Corporation in the 70s and the 80s, people that had been making millions of dollars a year for 20 and 30 and 40 years. I remember sitting back at this auditorium, just seeing a whole auditorium of people screaming. 15,000 people, folks. I since that time, I've never been in an auditorium in the network marketing industry with any more than 2,000 people. And here, this is one organization, and there's 15 meetings going on in that same group that I was a part of simultaneously that weekend. There was 15 auditoriums full of 15,000 people. And the guy who was up at the front of the stage is a guy some of you guys would actually know. Most of you honestly wouldn't know because he's not on the front of any tapes or CD courses or funded proposal systems or internet funnels. This guy named Brad Duncan. And Brad Duncan at the time was making about $8 million a year, flew a private jet, had one of the biggest, most ridiculous houses that you'd ever seen for in your life, and he paid for it with cash all through the power of this industry through network marketing. He'd been in at the time about 20 years, and he said something from the stage that affected me profoundly when he's explaining kind of the mechanics of building a downline from a large picture perspective. He said it's more powerful to be unified than it is to be right. Again, let me repeat that and repeat it at the beginning of the conference. He said it's more powerful to be unified than it is to be right. What does that mean, folks? It means when you're building an organization, when you're building a team, that the team becomes the vision. You've got to learn to put your ego aside. Some of us, we've got hard hearts sometimes in sometimes submitting our egos towards a greater vision, a greater cause, and a greater good. I'm telling you guys, sometimes those hard hearts, they're poison, and they drive us away from our goals, not towards them. And if you could empower yourself by letting go of your desire to control absolutely every force in the world and realize that, in fact, there is no way to control what goes on externally in the world, folks, you can be so empowered to do such a greater, larger picture work in your own businesses. And something happened to me. I got involved in the internet. When I first got involved in this market space, it was a very different space than it is today. There were people that were making $150,000 a month, guys, that now are making, $5,000 a month. There are people that got in with me who are making nothing and now are up making $50,000 and $60,000 a month. I was brand new at a time when the whole internet was shifting. People were getting slapped off PPC, and I just stayed to my guns and I kept doing what was working for me. And I went from making nothing to making $800 a month to making $3,000 a month. Next month I made $30,000, made $5,000 or more every week since then. But you know what happened to me, folks, is I got locked up for a real long time. My income froze. And I don't care what anybody says, regardless of where it freezes, when your income freezes, it means your progress in life freezes, because the value that you give to society is directly measured by your income, folks. That is the way the world works right now. My income stayed locked, folks, for like 10 months. And there was a reason it was locked, and it was because the value that I was providing to the marketplace was also locked. Now, a few months back, I had a hard look at my business, and, in some regards, I was prospering, making more money than I'd ever made in my entire life, doing fantastic. And I said, there are some missing keys here, and there's a reason, and the reason resides within me on why my income is locked at $30,000 a month. And I made a change. I'm going to tell you what I made in this change here in a couple of minutes. I made a singular change, folks, actually 2 changes, all right? And my income immediately next month went over $85,000. And since that time, I've actually been making anywhere from $18,000 to $25,000, sometimes up to $30,000 every single 7-day period of time. Now you say, Dave, holy smokes, I'd be excited to make $30,000 in a month. And to be honest, folks, that's where I thought it was. But I'm telling you something, no matter where your income and your progress in life is locked up, your income and your progress is locked. It means the value that you're contributing to society is also simultaneously locked. So you say, Dave, what's the big change that you made? What is it that you changed, the alteration that you made in your process that made it so you had the power to suddenly triple your income again in this niche? And it was a real simple process, folks. I made a single distinction that it was more powerful to work through teams than it was to work through myself. Now, I've been building the team for a long time, but there's certain concepts that I didn't have right about it, and I also was trying to control everything I was doing in my business by myself. I was wanting to do all my prospecting by myself. I was wanting to do all my article writing by myself. I was wanting to do all my syndication by myself. I was wanting to control everything that went on my websites. I was wanting to be the designer of my website and the marketer and the guy who makes videos and the guy who follows up on the phone. And the fact is, folks, that's a lot of work, and there's only so much work you could do in the day. And I discovered this concept that you can only scale in business what's not dependent on yourself. And so what I started to do is systematically outsource and create teams of people to do the things in my business that I could get other people to do. And I'll tell you something, folks, my Alexa score, if any of you know what marketing is, my Alexa score went from like 20,000, which, by the way, is pretty good, all the way to where in the last 7 days my Alexa score is 6,000 or 7,000, folks, meaning that I have up in the top 7,000 websites in the last 7 days on the entire internet right now, and that's all through learning to work through teams of people. But there are certain things that you guys have got to realize if you want to start building bigger teams and better business models. Number one, you've got to realize that it is empowering, not disempowering, to let go of control that you have in your business. Some of you want to write every single headline that you ever put out in your entire business. You want to do it all. You want to write all your email copywriting. But here's the fact, folks. What would happen if you died? What would happen to your business? It's a great question to ask, isn't it? I asked that same question. So what I started to do is systemically look at my business, alter things that I was only doing on myself, and now, folks, I've got enormous teams of people all working with a unified vision. And I'll tell you something that I've learned from experience that I'm repeating again from Brad, and that it's more powerful to be unified than it is to be right. There's more power in a mastermind than there is in a single person. There's more power in a community vision than there is in a singular entity. There's more power in submitting your ego to something bigger than yourself than it is to cling to your ego like it's the only thing standing on earth. All right? There's more power in unity than there is in singularity, folks. There's a concept called synergy in business, and there's also a concept called synergy in life. Now, I don't know exactly the metrics of how this works, but it goes something like this, and probably, I don't know, Dave might know because he's in construction, but if you take a singular steel bar and you stand it on its own, it can only withstand a singular amount of pressure. If you add another bar to that mix and just put two bars next to each other, it doesn't double the strength of the bars. Two entities standing by each other are more like the equivalent of the strength of times 10 of whatever one of the single ones were. And people are like that, folks. What did Jesus say in the New Testament? Where two or three are gathered together in my name, there I am in the midst of them. Now, you may not be Christian, and I might not be Christian totally, but you know what, folks? The reality is when multiple people stand in unity behind a singular vision, you can move millions and millions and millions of people for good, and you could also move them on the other side of the fence. Right? It was a handful of people that created the entire banking system that runs the entire world. It was an organization of 20 people in that Amway team that I was a part of that created an organization, folks, of over 500,000 people. What can we do if we stand together? Everybody wants to do everything themselves. They want to control everything, but I'm telling you something, folks. If you want to build a big team and if you want to build a big vision, you've got to learn to let go of the control, let go of the fact that you have to control everything in your business and allow yourself to submit to a bigger vision and a bigger picture that a big group of people can get behind. And the second you do that, you will start to see your income double, triple, quadruple, and multiply by 10 because two people aren't just two when they stand together. They're more like 10 people. 10 people aren't just 10 people when they stand together. They're more like 1,000. And so, folks, unity. Now, as we move forward and as we move together in this process, as we set up more scientific methods for you guys to make money quicker, one message that we're going to maintain as a community is a message of vision, folks. It's a message of keeping people together. We don't want to just build something, folks, that comes together and falls apart and we have to rebuild every 2 or 3 years. We want to build something where you and I together, we can go out in the marketplace and not just make a piddly $100,000 or $200,000 a year, folks. We want you on this call to have the vision and the belief and to have the process down to where if you want to and if you desire, you can own private jets, folks. You can drive Ferraris. You can travel to the beaches of the world. You can do things that nobody has ever done. You know, it opened up my eyes when I was a part of that organization in Amway. And I'm going to tell you guys later, after I turn the call over to Dave and after we go over a couple of things, some things that I learned that kind of kept that group together, some concepts, not to copy Amway and to walk around in Walmart and do all that stuff, but to realize the good things that they did teach people how to do. And I'm going to lay out some concepts, folks, that will absolutely change your life if you choose to listen. But we are going to operate from a position of unity. We're all going to promote things together. We're all going to grow teams together. We're going to stand behind each other and we're going to line up our visions because together, I believe, just the people on this call, folks, if we decide to unify, we can change the world. And singly by ourselves, standing alone, there's only so much can we do. So my question is, for all of you who are listening to this call tonight, is do you want to be a part of a greater vision? Do you want to be a part of something bigger than yourself? Or do you want to be stuck up and hold on to your ego? I'm telling you, the ego, it will keep you locked up in your business. If you've been stuck at $2,000 a month, all right, and I'm just going to speak truthfully to you because I've been at different places. If you're stuck at $2,000 a month, it's an ego. If you're stuck at $500 a month, there's a very good chance it's your ego. If you're stuck at $80,000 a month, if you're stuck, it's because you're holding on to concepts that may not be true and are withholding you from building your business properly. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to have Dave cover some concepts with you and some ideas as well. I wanted to invite, again, all of you to stand behind a unified vision. Those of you who are on the call, come meet us out in Orlando. That's something Dave and I are doing together. And we're going to show you, we're going to outline a process on how a handful of us who decide to take action are going to be able to unify as a real mastermind. Not as one of these fake inner circles that are out there on the internet, but as a real mastermind, as a real group of people that are acting in unity and having vision and casting that vision on the world together. We're going to show you folks how we're just going to take over the entire niche. We're going to show you how we'll take over the entire industry. If you want to be in on that, of course, you can come to that event. The link for that, again, I'm going to turn it back over to Dave in a sec, is workwithdavidwood.com/dream, singular. workwithdavidwood.com/dream. And so, Dave, again, I'm going to turn the call back over to you to go over some concepts here, to go over some ideas on some ways and some actual technicalities on how people can create more unified teams in this industry right now and some steps that they can take. Because, I'll tell you something. Some of your background, this is a way more empowered concept in your life. And something I see, folks, I just want to point something out here about Dave. Something that I see when I talk to Dave, something when I look into his eyes, there isn't any ego there, folks. He's realized and he's been humbled that he's not in control of everything. And that's one of the reasons why when Dave speaks, it's so powerful, because he's humble. And because he's humble, he has more power. And one final image that I want everybody here to get is, I remember I was at a conference with a guy who was making $10 million a year. I'm not going to mention his name. One of the richest people I'd ever met in my life. Another guy who had private jets. This isn't Brad. This is a different one. He had a private jet. His home was 20,000 square feet. He actually had gold lacing on his walls in his house. And he's also one of the most humble people that I'd ever met in my entire life. It was a complete contradiction from how you would normally think about corporatism or a rich person. And one of the most humble individuals I've ever met. I loved his family. His whole life was about the vision and the community that he was building. And he kind of gave me an image that I think is one of the most empowering images I've ever seen in my entire life. He said, most people, when they think about being in submission, and we're not talking about listening to orders, we're just talking about letting go of ego here, folks. Because to let go of your ego, you've got to be in submission to your own vision. You've got to be in submission to an idea that you're trying to build, and let your life be governed by those ideas and those values, not just by being locked into any given concept. He said, most people, when they think of submission, they think of weakness. He says, but I'm going to tell you the truth, is that being in submission to your vision is strength. When you think about submission, some people think of the weak people being beaten. He says, but the reality is when you're in submission to something that is a greater cause than your own self, he says it's more like you're sitting on the back of a wild stallion who's got fire in his eyes, and that stallion, because he's in submission to the person who's riding the horse, is not, he says he's more powerful because he's unified in a singular direction. It's the difference between having one man stand against an army and having the people in an army stand together for a cause. It's more powerful to be behind a singular idea. It's more powerful to have a vision, folks. It's more powerful to be in submission to that vision than it is to cling. And all of us have got to take a hard look at ourselves and ask ourselves, where are we stuck in our life? Where are we stuck in our marketing? Where are we stuck in our business? Would this be more empowered with a team and a community? And we need to let go of those things that are holding us back. So Dave, again, I'm going to turn it over to you, buddy. I mean, you've had some experiences that have blown me away with some of the things that you've shared. And I'll just stop talking now, and I'll tell you something. Aligning together with you has made a big difference in the direction that my whole life is going to go. So let's do it, man. And I'll turn it over to you here to give your thought.
Absolutely, buddy. I appreciate everything that you said, man. Really do. And it all makes perfect sense. And as you were talking, I had a couple of thoughts. And just to kind of share with you guys of the way that we're doing these calls is these calls are straight from the heart. This is not something that we're getting on with some big outline or structure. This is not something that there's some big pitch at the end. I mean, it's so refreshing to me because the truth of the matter is I'm ready for a change. I'm ready to do something different. I'm ready to be a part of a unified message. And as you were talking, I kind of realized that victory is sweetest when you've known defeat. And inside of my life, I can tell you that it'd be glorious for me to sit up here and just on this conference call tonight and just blow smoke up everybody's butt. But the truth of the matter is I've known more defeat in my life than I have victory. Again, I've known more defeat in my life than I have victory, and it's those defeats that have beat me in, again, to kind of piggyback on what Dave said, into submission or surrender. See, when I first got clean off of running wild and experiencing addiction on all levels, I thought that it was something that I needed to quit. I thought that it was something that I needed to change. But the truth of the matter was there was a concept that was much bigger and much deeper than I was able to process at that very moment. And it was a concept called surrender. And when I finally learned to surrender on that specific level, I got to experience what it was like to give up that way of life and find a new way of life. That led me to surrender on deeper levels, on levels internally, not just externally, and surrender on levels such as other compulsive things that I did and things that I didn't even realize were detrimental to my everyday life. I didn't even realize that I was actually creating the negative things in my life, that it had nothing to do with anybody or anything around me. And when I got into business inside of the network marketing, internet marketing realm, industry, I also went through that same transformation, that I realized that I was actually creating my own failures and successes, and it had so much to do with surrendering to the process. The fact of the matter is, guys, is we're all in a process, and here's the very, very cool thing. I want everybody to take one quick second to take a deep breath after I say this. You're right where you're supposed to be. Let's breathe. That makes me feel good. It relaxes me to know that I'm right where I'm supposed to be. See, Dave and I aren't jumping on these conference calls telling you that you need to do this. We're not telling you that you need to do that. We're not telling you that you need to buy this or you need to join that. That's what everybody else is out there doing, and guess what? It doesn't work. We want to lead by example and basically lock arms with a unified message that we are stronger together than apart. And I can tell you that what we're going to talk about in Orlando is basically an outline of a plan. And guess what? We're not going to get you down there to try to get you into some MLM company or something like that. No, this vision is much, much bigger than that, my friends. And I can tell you that we don't want to put ourselves up on a mountain somewhere to where no one can touch us. We want to spend time with you guys. We want to lock arms with you guys. We want to meet your families. I want to meet your kids. We want to lock arms and shake hands and hang out and you know, go to the bar. And even though I don't drink, I'd love to buy you a beer and just kind of hang out and get to know each other and move in a common direction. Because here's exactly what I did for a long time, and I think that speaking from personal experience will give you the opportunity to relate, is that I ran around like a chicken with my head cut off for a long time in every different direction with all kinds of ego flying everywhere, and I thought everyone was the competition, and I needed to somehow beat the competition, and I needed to somehow do certain things inside of my business that were going to put me in a position to make more money. And the truth of the matter was there was no competition. The truth of the matter was there only collaboration, and all of the competition and all of the negativity that I created was a manifestation of my perspective and the way that I thought. See, when I had that mental shift, when I started to see life and business in a different way, was when I started to lock arms with people like Dave, when I started to humble myself enough to say, you know what, I can do more by helping other people and promoting other people, and guess what? Here's the kicker. Simplifying my business. I can get better results by doing that than trying to be some complicated egomaniac and mystery man that nobody could get to know. See, a whole lot of people have a whole lot of friends, but nobody really knows them, and that's not how we want to operate. We're just absolutely moving into a new society. Forget a new economy. We're moving into a place in today's times that people want to know who David Sharp is, that people want to know who David Wood is. And the reason why I get on these calls and I share with you exactly who I am is because I know that, because guess what? I want to know who you are. I don't particularly care what you can do for me, and I was taught that inside of the process that I went through in my personal life, that I actually have friends. I have friends who have they don't have a pot to piss in. I have friends that don't have any money. I have friends that owe credit cards and owe mortgages and are going through foreclosure, and guess what? The truth of the matter is I don't judge those people, because guess what? we all have a unified message, which is to support each other in no matter what we're going through, and that's the message that we want to carry through into our businesses as well. What's refreshing to me is that Dave and I, on our vision that we want to work basically side by side, not walking in front, not walking behind you, is a unified message, a simple message, a simple vision that we can all do this, not apart, not in competition, but together. And I can tell you what, that when I experienced that on a deeper level, when I really consumed that and I really surrendered to the fact that there is no competition and that I was complicating not only my life but my business, everything changed for me, and that's my personal experience with tonight's topic. So with that being said, Dave, I'm going to throw it back over to you, buddy.
Yeah, just a couple of thoughts, folks, and we're coming up here on the hour, and we'll probably finish this maybe 5 minutes, maybe 5 minutes after here, maybe right spot on. But folks, everybody here, I really want you to understand a couple of things. You know, I had a couple of experiences in the last year that really showed me the difference in the power of a singular entity versus the power of a community. You know, when I first got online, one of the things that was a mistake of mine, and this is kind of getting into tactical ideas here, just for a minute here, and then I'm going to close up and kind of send everybody off on your way. And we are recording this, and we'll put a recording up for everybody to re-listen to, folks. But one of the things that was kind of a mistake in thinking was originally when I got online, I thought everybody needed the guru concepts, and I thought that they needed this high-end, ultra-complicated stuff. And I still do believe that people need to have the advanced information, advanced technological thinking to really the science of really how to build out an organization. But I realized something is that is not for the masses, folks. There's a tremendous group of people out there that don't have 10 hours a day to build a business. They don't have the time or the energy or the money to build out marketing systems. They don't have the ability to create something like an audio conference of the week. They don't have the knowledge to teach this stuff to their teams yet. They need to be a part of a community while they're learning to build out the vision. And as a result of my kind of square thinking and thinking everybody needed to be a guru when I was starting, after about 6 months in my business, I had a tremendous front line and zero duplication in my business. I didn't have any downline growth whatsoever. Yeah, I was making a lot of money. I was, won a BMW. I was traveling the world winning vacations, but I had no growth in my downline organization. It was all me. And then a change happened. I'm not going to tell you what it was tonight, but I changed one thing in my business where I created two things. I created two entities. I created one community vision of promotion, and then I created advanced leadership strategies, and I separated them out. And what I decided to do was run my new people instead of through the guru nonsense that keeps them all fixed because they really don't have time to do it when they're new. I decided to create a way to promote that was based in replicating my skill set through an entire team of people. And as a result, we were able to add several hundred people into our organization that was based off of the efforts of not me, but a team in just a few short weeks. And so, folks, there's power in communities, there's power in vision, there's power behind standing behind a singular cause that goes just beyond fluffy talk. It goes into the real raw ideas, the core ideas of why we're in this business. You are not in this business to do everything yourself. You're not in this business to have a job, folks. And if you want not just money, but if you want freedom, if you want the ability to travel, if you want the ability to go to the beaches of the world, if you want the ability to detach for a weekend from your business, and next Monday when you come back, you've made $10,000 in 2 days doing nothing, if you want the ability to create leverage in your life, then you need to understand something, folks, that it is not about you. It's about the visions of your team. It's about the teams of your people. And I have one challenge to everybody here who's on this call as a part of constructing that vision. And I really want everybody to get into the down and dirty. I want you to create a vision of really why you're building this business. What are you in this to accomplish? What are you in this to achieve? What are you going to do with your vision in your business? Where's the direction that you really want to go in your life? Is it just to have money? Are you after corporatism? Or are you here to have complete financial freedom, leverage, independence, money coming in whether you're working or not? There's a difference in the vision in what you're going to do depending on what your real dream is on why you're really here. I'll tell you something, folks. I've had money with no time, and I've had money with time, and I'll take smaller money with time and freedom over tons of money with no freedom every single day of the week. We are going to show you over the course of the next 5 to 6 weeks how you can literally build an income that automates and perpetuates itself all right, regardless of whether you're working or not. We're going to show you, folks, the greater level meta strategies, if you will, behind building communities of people that last for 10, 20, 30, and 40 years. We're going to show you guys how to not just build teams, but how to build teams and hold them together. Because I've got a vision, folks, and here's my challenge for you of why I started this little rant here. I have a vision of helping you accomplish your dreams. And I'm going to tell you something that may be a bold statement, and I promise you guys that it's true, is that my dream, my vision, folks, I've got a dream that I promise you is big enough to fit yours inside of it. All right? Mine and Dave's vision is big enough to fit your dreams inside of it. And my challenge for every single person here on this call tonight is your dream big enough to fit the dreams of your team? Is your dream and your vision big enough to fit the dreams of your team? See, folks, it's not just whether you can make $10,000 a month or $5,000 a month or $50,000 a month. If you get a person in your team and you're just after $10,000 a month and that they want to make $10,000 a month too, there's a disconnect. Because here's what's going to happen, folks, and you're going to realize this real soon. Your dream doesn't fit theirs. And you know what's going to happen if that's true consistently in your business? Is every time you get a leader, they'll end up leaving you. Let me repeat that again. Every time you get a leader, they'll end up leaving you if your vision can't contain theirs. Is your dream big enough to fit the visions of your team? I'll promise you something, folks, that mine is big enough to contain yours. Mine and Dave's is big enough to contain everybody's dreams on this call. All right? It is more powerful to be unified than it is to be right. It's more power to get behind a community vision than it is to stand alone. And my question for you is, where are you going in your business? What would you like to achieve? Who would you like to impact? And are you ready to make a difference? Now, obviously, we're pulling together some weird, crazy stuff here in Orlando for those of you who are going to be attending that. And this isn't to sell Live the Dream tickets. We're just both going to the event, folks, and we want to use this as an opportunity to meet together, to mastermind together with members of the community. Not everybody who goes to that event is going to have access to this private gathering that we're going to be having all through that weekend. We're using what's already there to have an opportunity to connect with you and construct a vision. So if you do want to attend, go to workwithdavidwood.com/dream. The cost of the event is anywhere from $200 to, I believe the top ticket is $699. I don't care which one you get. We just want to connect with you there that weekend, and you could go there and get those now. Folks, here's the last thought that I want to leave you with, because I don't want you to think that this call is just here to get you to that event, because what we're doing is dramatically bigger than anything that you could imagine there. Folks, I want you to take a hard look at yourself and in your business and ask yourself a question: am I acting as a standalone ego clinging to my own ideals? Or am I acting in submission, vision, and unity with a bigger picture that encompasses other people? If the answer is the former and not the latter, you are going to be stuck and frustrated in your business. And there's something that I learned a long time ago, going to an event actually, a gal who's making about $10 million a year, and she says, here's what I want you to do. I want you to imagine your ego like a big old shadow holding you down, keeping you stuck. Just imagine it for a second. I want you to reach down, grab your ego and take it off like a suit. Just peel it off and just say, I'm willing to step down in order to step up. Folks, that's what tonight is really about. It's not about anybody being in control of your life. It's not about giving up your ideals and your values. What it's about is to realize that there is a greater vision in the bigger community, that there's a greater cause in unifying behind not just your own vision, but a bigger vision that it can encompass everyone's, folks. We can change the world. You and I can do it. We can change this industry. Folks, this industry for too long has been a top-feeding industry. What do I mean by that? There's two guys at the very top that make all the money and everybody else is frustrated. And you've felt that as part of some organizations, have you not? For too long, this has been a standalone guru industry. It's time that we step down, that we might step up, and that's what these calls are really all about. So here's two things I want everybody to do. I'm going to turn it back over to Dave for final thoughts. Number one thing I want you to do, if you do want to attend, if you do want to come, Go to workwithdavidwood.com/dream. We will meet with you there. That is a real thing. We will connect with you, and we will make sure that you realize really where we're going. Folks, if you don't want to go, then don't go. I really don't care. That's for the people that want to be on the core level connection with really the idea and the mastermind behind what we're trying to do here. Second thing that I want you to do, folks, next week, mark off your calendar at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, same number, same dial-in. There are only a limited number of seats on these calls, and we are going to teach you some concepts that are actually going to go blow you away. We've been covering some foundational concepts, folks. Last week we covered some stuff that would absolutely change your life if you just stepped in and you applied that information. This week we're talking about having a vision and submission, folks. Next week we're going to talk about some strategies, some concepts absolutely will help you to revamp your business to take you from wherever you are to where you want to be. And you got to mark that off on your calendar, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, same number, same call-in info, folks, and we will see you next week at 9 p.m. Eastern. Before we go, I'm going to turn it over to Dave here to kind of give maybe a couple of closing thoughts. Folks, I'm really looking forward to communicating with you, to connecting with you, to connecting with your families, to seeing you belly to belly, shaking your hand, speaking life and vision into you, helping you to really realize the truth and the real strategies and the real concepts, folks, that are not always the technicalities, folks. I'm telling you something. It's being in submission, like Dave said, to the process. That was one of those brilliant things that's on this call tonight, if you heard that, being in submission to the process. We're going to show you the process, all right? So mark off 9 p.m. Eastern Time next week. And Dave, I'm going to turn it over to you, buddy.
All right, cool, man. Hey, listen, I just want to recap a couple of quick thoughts and some actionable steps because, again, a lot of you may feel a little bit awkward in these situations that, there's not some big pitch at the end or we're not trying to get you in some deal or something. I mean, that may be a little bit different for a lot of you who are listening on these calls. And I want to tell you that it's okay that you feel that way because the truth of the matter is the reason why we're doing these calls is because each and every call has a specific reason leading up to that particular inner circle meeting. So again, do whatever it takes, anything that you have to do to get to that event, to get to that inner circle meeting. Now, if you didn't or you can't write down or you don't have a piece of paper and a pencil, you can go back to either Dave or I's email and grab that link and buy your ticket through that link because those are the people who are going to be able to get access to that meeting. Again, so many times in my life, and I'm sure that you guys can probably relate to this, that I said at the last minute, oh, screw it, I'm not going. I don't need to go. I made all of these excuses up why I shouldn't do something, and then guess what? Every single time that I did that, I regretted it because you know what I lived with? The what-ifs. I lived with the what could have happened. What would have happened if I went? Well, I got sick and tired of living with those type of regrets. As a matter of fact, I got sick and tired of living with regrets, period, and that's why I don't particularly ask for permission to do things in the beginning. I may ask for forgiveness if I make a mistake and admit that I'm wrong, but I usually just take action. So if I can leave you with a final thought tonight, it's to take action and go and get your ticket. Now, if you're at your computer, go ahead and take care of it right now. Go to workwithdavidwood.com/dream. Again, workwithdavidwood.com/dream. And if you're just driving around, hanging around, pacing around like probably Dave and I are, I know I am getting all pumped up because I'm excited because I know what we have in the mix for you, and it's something I can tell you that will dramatically increase your income and the quality of your life. I know what's coming, and I want you to be there with us, to be able to hug, to be able to shake our hand, to be able to hang out and talk with us. The next thing that I want to tell you to do is when we release the recording of this audio, I want you to download this recording, okay? And I want you to listen to this recording 1 to 2 times throughout the next week. If you got to listen to it in your car, if you got to listen into your iPod while you're exercising, whatever the case may be, I want you to download this audio. Dave will be releasing it. I'll be releasing it either later tonight or tomorrow. We'll have a dial-in number that you can actually call and listen to the recording on your phone, or again, you can download it and put it on your iPod or whatever you guys do out there to be able to listen to audios. But we really want to embed this vision. And, to some of you, again, who are wondering, well, what's the reason for this? Well, the reason is because we have a very specific process, and we want to actually embed some concepts into you that actually matter. We don't want to get you on some webinar and overwhelm you with technical, complicated bullcrap that doesn't really matter or make you money. We want to actually give you the real concepts that are going to actually make a difference in your life. And if you're feeling a little uncomfortable, you're feeling a little awkward, or you don't see the value, then that's totally okay, because guess what? I didn't at first either, but when I started to focus on the things that actually made a difference, A, in my personal life, and B, in my business life, that was when I started to have the breakthrough. So again, there's going to be some things that maybe some of us didn't catch on this call, and that's why the power of listening to this audio 1, 2, 3, maybe every day leading up to next Monday, and we cover some more really, really, really just absolute stuff. Okay, this is must-have stuff inside personally and business-wise that each of us need, not just you guys, that we need to, we're implementing, we're practicing, and we're never going to ask you to do anything that we're not willing to do as well. So with that being said, I'm looking forward to connecting with you guys, seeing you in Orlando. Go ahead and go to workwithdavidwood.com/dream and just take action and grab your ticket, because I can tell you what, every single time, and I'll finish that thought that I started before, every single time that I do something and I just say, you know what, no matter how much anxiety I'm feeling, no matter how much emotional turmoil, no matter how much I think that it's going to put me in debt or whatever the case may be, and I actually do it and take action, I can tell you that it transforms my life, and I'm so thankful that I do it. Now, here's a specific example of that. Maybe sometimes a friend or somebody calls you up and says, do you want to go for dinner, or do you want to grab coffee? And always our first inkling is to say, no, it's okay. No, I'm busy tonight. No, I got something going on. That's what I used to do all the time, and I always have to catch myself and remind myself to experience life and everything that it has to offer. And what we are going to experience in that inner circle meeting in Orlando is going to be something that's going to impact our lives on a much, much more dramatic level than anything has up until this point. So with that being said, I'm looking forward to talking with you guys and connecting with you next Monday at 9 p.m. Back over to you, Dave.
Absolutely, Dave. Let's just real quick, everybody, we'll see you next week. Really looking forward to connecting with all you guys, not only through the week, but also in Orlando as a part of this greater community vision. And real quick, why don't we do this, Dave? Why don't we just unmute everybody and just have everybody scream? Here, how about we do this, everybody who's on the call? All right, we'll unmute the lines, and then I'm going to say 1, 2, 3. I want everybody to say, just top of your lungs, it's more powerful to be unified than it is to be right. So again, what are we going to say? We're going to say it's more powerful to be unified than it is to be right after the count of 3. So Dave, unmute the lines, I'll count to 3, then let's just all freaking yell and make everybody think that we're a bunch of total nutcases just with a dream and a vision, because that's exactly what we are. So Dave, do you know the button to unmute it?
Here we go, buddy.
All right. We unmuted? 1, 2, 3. It's more powerful
to be unified than to be free.
It is to be right.
Okay, awesome, guys. This is awesome. I love it. All you guys on the call, you guys never let go of your dreams. Never let go of this vision, guys. Never let go of the feeling you feel in your heart right now, guys. We're going to do great things together. You remember that, folks. It's more powerful to be unified than it is to be right. We'll see you all next week.
Good night.
May the force be with you. Good night.